Millions of Americans took to the streets to protest the current administration and its policies. This was President Trump's response. The AI-generated video features President Trump in a crown, flying a fighter jet emblazoned with King Trump on its side. The president then appears to dump raw sewage on protesters. This new wave of No Kings rallies, as they're called, boasted nearly 7 million attendees across 50 states. With us now, Republican strategist Doug Heye and former press secretary to then Vice President Joe Biden, Kendra Barkoff. Kendra, let me just start with you. What do you think these protests showed this weekend?
Well, they showed that people are unhappy with Donald Trump's policies. You had more than 7 million people coming out in 50 states across the country. They are angry. People voted Donald Trump to lower gas prices, to lower grocery prices, and that is clearly not happening. And on top of that, I would just say that video that he created, I am sorry, that is something that 10-year-old boys may get a good chuckle at, but the reality is, if this Republican Party, led by Donald Trump, continues to not take these people seriously, great. Let's keep it up, because that is great news for Democrats come the upcoming election.
This is what President Trump had to say beyond the AI video. Listen.
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs paid for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. It looks like it was. We're checking it out. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out. When you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
Mr. President, besides San Francisco...
By the way, I'm not a king. I'm not a king.
So, Doug, he called them very small, very ineffective. I will note, I mean, we're just a few weeks before elections across the country here. I assume there is a risk to overstating the importance of these, but how much of a risk is there to understating the importance if you're Republicans?
Well, it certainly can tell us maybe something about Democratic intensity. But as you mentioned, we're just a few weeks away from elections in Virginia and New Jersey. And so as I saw rallies in Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York, big crowds at those. But ultimately, I would rather, on one of the last Saturdays before the election, have those people knocking on doors and making phone calls and actually trying to affect elective change, if I'm a Democrat, than waving signs and whatever else. It seems to me to be a missed opportunity here. And don't get me wrong, John, what is more fun? It's a great little Saturday to dress up like Kermit the Frog and, wave posters of J.D. Vance with a bald head for some reason. That's a great Saturday. What it doesn't do is it doesn't help Mikey Sherrill win in New Jersey. It doesn't help Abigail Spanberger win in Virginia. I would think that would be the Democrats' priority. And you can do this in a politically smart way. And it's why I think that the organizers here aren't campaign people. You do this rally after the elections, because if the Democrats win these two elections, then you can demonstrate real momentum, regardless of, yes, as I would agree with Donald Trump, maybe not with all of his imagery, that some of these people aren't exactly representative of real American voters.
Organizers say more than 7 million people showed up at these 2,700 rallies to protest President Trump's policies, his agenda. So, how much does this potentially energize Democrats or other opponents of Trump's agenda, especially ahead of the New Jersey, New York, Virginia races? Might there be an impact?
Yeah, well, look, I think, there are two big problems Democrats had in 24. And I think the massive turnout at the No Kings rally suggests that one of those problems is on its way to being solved. And the other one, we're going to have to wait and see. The problem that's on its way to being solved, I mean, in 24, Democrats drooped in white-collar, well-educated suburbs that had really provided the core of the opposition to Trump in the 2018 and 2020 election. If you look at the 40 seats the Democrats won in the House in 2018, in 30 of them, there were more college graduates than ever, than average. And in 2020, Biden ran up historic margins in all of these kind of white-collar suburbs. That's the kind of voter I think predominantly you saw come out yesterday. And I think the massive turnout is a sign that those voters are very alarmed by what they are watching from this second Trump administration. And they probably are going to turn out in big numbers. And we'll be watching in places like Fairfax County, Virginia, and Bergen County, New Jersey in November to see whether that's on track. And all signs are that it is. The other problem Democrats had in 24 was that their vote declined in a lot of heavily minority working class areas in inner cities. And that is probably less affected by the kind of issues that are motivating the marchers on the No Kings rally. I mean, these are voters who are really struggling to keep their head above water economically. So we're going to see in a place like Passaic, New Jersey, whether those voters are returning toward Democrats. But I do think, no doubt, the No Kings rally showed there's a lot of energy in these white collar suburbs. And you're probably going to see margins that look more like 18 and 20 than 21 and 24 in those places.
All fascinating. All right, Ron Brownstein, always great to have you. Thank you so much.